4, Scene 7, we learn about Claudius's plot to use Laertes to fight Hamlet for him. He does this by trying to channel Laertes' rage about Polonius's murder to avenge his father and take action. This is a contrast between Claudius's brutality and corrupt means of revenge, and the previous moment when Hamlet had the perfect chance to kill the king, but his hesitancy resulted in inaction. It's revealed that Ophelia has drowned after falling into the water after a willow's tree branch broke, so this will set up Hamlet to be even more depressed when he finds this out. When he's hanging out around the churchyard with Horatio and the gravedigger, on line 187 in Scene 1, he observes a skull that is said to previously belong to Yorick, a court jester that Hamlet had known and cared about. He found it so abhorrent that such a kind man he knew had all of his liveliness and humor lost and replaced it with just an empty and smelly skull. This was the only memory of him. He contemplates if Alexander the Great looked the same on line 201, or perhaps Julius Caesar on line 216. These incredible figures had been diminished down to some gross bones. This got Hamlet thinking about his mortality, and however honorable or noble someone can be in their lifetime, everyone will just end up as a skull. This skull, of course, symbolizes death, but more specifically the universal act of death that everyone will experience. It also represents the destruction of the royal court that is to come. All of the moral corruption in Denmark mirrors the physical decay of the skull. This scene serves as the calm before the storm, where Hamlet can reflect on his life before he inevitably dies in the chaotic duel at the end of Act 5. After watching the burial ceremony take place and watches Laertes jump into Ophelia's grave, he enters the group and announces himself as Hamlet the Dane on line 266. He's saying that he should be king instead of Claudius, and he's the one who should be honored. This is followed by him expressing his disapproval with Laertes' accents, saying that he's the only one that truly loves Ophelia. 40,000 Laertes couldn't even match how much he loves her, said on line 280 to 282. From Hamlet's view, he's thinking, how dare he beat me to care for the loss of the girl I love, and make these crazy actions like jumping into the grave to give her one last hug, as mentioned on line 289. Hamlet is trying to declare his worthiness in each of these quotes. He needs to make these bold statements while he still has the ability to, and to get his point across to his family. The act carries on with Hamlet and Horatio talking together about the king's actions and what they should do about their situation. Hamlet expresses how fast he knows he can die, even before counting to 1, as explained on line 79. He believes that in the remainder of his life, he might as well do something positive to stay honorable, whether it be to right his wrongs or to die in a noble way. He tells Horatio that he is apologetic over how he treated Laertes, and thinks that he could relate to his own conflict because Polonius was killed, affecting him in a similar way. As we will see in the upcoming duel, both Hamlet and Laertes are fighting for revenge or out of spite. Neither of them has any real reason to be fighting, because all of this death and misery they are both experiencing is a result of Claudius and Polonius's behavior. He even admits to being crazy when Hamlet and Laertes meet, but unfortunately the duel still goes on because of Laertes' need to be honorable on line 244. In the last act, he switches from a rude antagonist, kind of like an annoying trust fund kid, to someone Hamlet can share opinions with. The madness that Hamlet supposedly put on as a cover-up for his revenge plans actually got to his head and made him act in ways that in retrospect were too crazy. The fight that takes place results in the Queen, King, Laertes, and Hamlet all dying, all of which stemming from Claudius's plan to poison Hamlet. His plan backfired and karma killed him. This is expressed by Horatio even more on line 406 to 407. He explains that in all of this climactic chaos, the plans all fell on the inventors' heads. All of the inner thoughts and workings of each character, all of their schemes and motives had failed. Claudius trying to kill Hamlet backfired on himself and his wife. The decisions of Claudius and Laertes to poison the cup and the sword resulted in all four deaths, all of which happened because of corrupt means. The revenge plans hadn't come to fruition because none of them could properly avenge who they wanted to avenge because they were killed themselves. After all of this chaos, it leaves Horatio to tell Hamlet's story and keep him honored. The craziness of the last 5 acts had come to an end, and leaves Fortinbras to control Denmark. Even though he's a character who's barely known, the good side always wins. And this is because all of the themes of death and decay throughout the play have been gone since Claudius died. All of the crazy actions of Hamlet are done, but leaves his honorable life story to still be told. Fortinbras's arrival is meant to give the audience the feeling that order is being restored, and all of the possible things Hamlet could have accomplished as the leader could still be done by the new king. So, looking back on scene 1 with the bold declarations he made, and the actions of Laertes he saw as an attack on his honor, all of this gets wrapped up in this last scene. Even though the main character's plan didn't entirely work out, at least he still has his honor, and at least he lived his life properly and acted on what he knew he should have done way back when he could have killed the king. Sure, he's gonna end up being just a skull like Alexander the Great, but both of them can have their story live on for generations.